The oil and gas industry is en route. It's on a collision course for not enough oil with much higher demand. And we're going to see very high energy prices in the coming months here, okay? And so I want to talk about oil fundamentals, why I believe that's so. I want to look at some charts here. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you're interested in oil and gas, please subscribe to this channel. Right now, oil prices are trading at $36 a barrel, $37 for Brent crude. Rig count is currently 287. Frac spread is 134. And total right now, current U.S. production is 9.9 million. That's a 3.3 million barrel a day drop. Here we were 13,100,000. That was February 2020. Okay, so the beginning of the year, we hit the most we've ever produced as a country, U.S., is 13.1 million, and now we've dropped down to 9.9 million. That's roughly a 3 million barrel a day decrease, okay? Now, if you look at this chart, you'll understand why that's important to understand. Now, if you look here, oil prices hit $133 a barrel June of 2008. Now, what caused that trend to go from $18 a barrel here in 2001 and climb all the way up to $133 a barrel? That's a $110 increase. Well, quite simply here, if you look at this green here, that stands for U.S. crude oil production. So U.S. production slowly declined. Why? Because we didn't have fracking technology. We didn't have the ability to extract shale. So there was no new major discoveries. And so they were living off what they did 30 years ago, and they were not able to keep up with the demand. So as we decrease under the under the Bush administration, we were very reliant upon Saudi oil, overseas oil. So every time there was a war, every time there was a bomb dropped in the Middle East, with Saddam Hussein and everything else, Osama bin Laden under the Obama administration, oil prices skyrocketed. Okay, well, once we started, now if you look here, once the production increase goes from, I believe we dipped at 6 million a day, and we increased all the way up to 13 million barrels a day in U.S. crude. Now, if you see here, as this increases, oil prices do go up. The Brent crude price stopped here at $123 a barrel and then started declining. Why? Because the U.S. oil production increased, okay? U.S. oil rig count, as you can see here, it slowly increased, okay, and then took a dip here, then skyrocketed. And as that U.S. rig count skyrockets, U.S. oil production increases, okay? But at some point, the demand, we produced more oil than there was demand, okay? And that caused the rigs count to drop, and that caused oil prices to drop. And so here we averaged about $50-something a barrel over the last 5 years, okay? So quite simply, the U.S. was producing too much oil. Now, here's the thing. Why do I know that is one of the most important metrics to the oil price? Well, quite simply because Russia and Saudi Arabia tried to stop U.S. oil output. If they have all the data, if they have all the information, and they have their GDP is more reliant on oil than any other country, okay? So these guys want $100 oil more than the U.S. ever did, okay? But why would they flood the markets with oil back in March? To try to stop shale, just to destroy their own industry, because it's the most important driving force behind these lower oil prices, okay? If you look at the charts, the chart here shows a decline, and it caused oil prices to go over $100 a barrel, allowing Russia and Saudi Arabia to manipulate the markets. Once we got upwards of 10, 12, 13 million barrels a day plus in the U.S., they couldn't control the markets anymore. Oil prices stabilized and they stayed low, making energy cheaper. So they have all the data. Russia and Saudi Arabia have more data about oil and gas than any other industry, and the step moving forward to try to stabilize oil and increase it was to destroy U.S. shale. So here's the deal. If U.S. shale production drops, oil prices will go up. Tell that to Russia and Saudi Arabia if you don't agree with me. Okay, and so let's look here. No debate, most oil shale is doomed. Shell has a huge competition to fill remaining oil demand. Zero cash takeovers for Permian producers is a very bad signal for the rest of the industry, okay? Debt-laden shell companies simply cannot pay down debt at likely demand and prices. A last wave of bankruptcies and take-unders is coming, okay? So here's the deal. The U.S. shale, and I think I just saw an article here. Yeah, breaking news, Exxon to cut 1,900 jobs in the U.S. So the U.S. shale industry is being destroyed right now, okay? Now, production has dropped over 3 million barrels a day in the U.S., and it's going to continue. We lost 5 years of growth, 5 years of development in the U.S. oil and gas industry. That it took us 5 years to grow 3 million barrels a day output, and it's gone. It's vanished. So what Russia and Saudi Arabia is doing is working. Now, here's the problem, okay? The reason why oil prices are so low right now is not only because of the U.S. oil production, okay? But there's a graph here that you can't simply just throw on there, okay? It's this election cycle. The election cycle, oil and gas industry and the markets are always fluctuating, very fast. But this is completely different. This election is built around Trump destroying the economy. This election is built around Trump not handling COVID-19 properly, and this election is built around Donald Trump wanting to build up an industry, the oil and gas industry that is destroying the world. Global warming. They are blaming global warming on U.S. fossil fuels. So there's 3 major reasons for the Biden campaign to drive that, okay? Now, here's the thing. Biden's spending hundreds of millions of dollars a month on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm getting inundated with his information. The news is driving this information. 75% of the news that you see today, 75% of the YouTube videos you watch, 75% of the newspapers and everything that you read is being inundated with COVID-19 is killing people. COVID-19 is destroying oil demand, which we're at 95, 96 million barrels a day demand worldwide. We're only about 4 million shy away from pre-COVID, but that's not what you're going to read. That's not what you're going to hear. It's destroying oil demand. Then you have the whole fossil fuels is destroying the world. It's causing global warming. It's causing houses to burn down, all these fires, hurricanes, everything. And so, hey, who has a plan? Biden does. He has the Biden plan. Okay, he's going to lower emissions down to 0, and he's going to magically wave a wand and cause electricity to be green all of a sudden, replacing fossil fuels. Well, if you are educated, if you have any kind of understanding of electricity, of green tech, of fossil fuel, you would know that it is insane to believe that we could replace the fossil fuel industry. What we built over the last 100 years, the ability to drive hundreds of miles, in the ability to commute from your home suburbia to an office. In the past, you had to live right next to where you worked. In the past, you could only have enough crops to feed your family and maybe your neighbors. Now with the tractor, you could do all of those things. Now with the car and gas, which is the cheapest electricity out there, the cheapest energy out there is oil. Well, green tech, we're far from it, okay? The amount of oil, the amount of energy in a barrel of oil versus the amount of energy in a battery, it would cost $200 to store that much energy from a barrel of oil, where a barrel of oil costs $1 to store. The storage is unbelievable. To get that much energy from a barrel of oil and put it in the equivalent into a battery is 200 times more expensive. Okay. But they're not going to talk about that. Here's the thing. Green technology is awesome, but it can't replace fossil fuels. It just can't. As cool as it is, as cool as the Tesla cars is, there's no cheaper energy, okay? Regardless of what they tell you, all right? Now, let's say what they're telling the truth. Well, we got to spend trillions of dollars to get there. We got to upgrade our grids to get there. Where are those trillions of dollars going to come from? And it's not going to happen overnight, guys. Let's say they're telling the truth, and let's say we have trillions of dollars, which is total BS. You can't replace fossil fuels with green tech. There's enough information out there. I'm not going to repeat what's been said over and over again. There's a lot of information. Go through my YouTube channel. You could learn why green cannot replace fossil fuels. But let's say that's the truth. And let's say we have trillions of dollars to blow, which we don't have, to upgrade the grid and focus on research and development for green tech. Let's say we do all of that. That's going to take 20, 30 years. Guys, listen, we're not producing enough oil right now to meet tomorrow's demand. We're not. Our rig count is dropping. It has dropped tremendously. Our output for U.S. oil production is dropping. World oil production is dropping. And in addition to that, oil is declining. I mean, when you drill a well today, 10 years from now, that same well is not going to produce the same amount. It's going to decline. Shale fracking has the highest decline because they have to use technology to manipulate a structure that's too tight. But it naturally will go back to Mother Nature, what it intended. And so it's a faster decline. So the U.S. shale production, that 9.9 million barrels a day that we're producing right now is declining rapidly. If we don't get out and start drilling again, if we don't get out and start developing again, we're going to be in some dire straits with energy because everybody's jumping ship, going to the green tech, believing in the lie. But after the election, the hundreds of millions of dollars that's being spent on ads, trying to make everyone believe that COVID-19 is worse than it really is. The economy is falling apart. The green tech is going to replace fossil fuels. Fossil fuels is evil. Once all that ends, the election's over, the agenda's over, COVID-19 starts to wane, demand continues to grow, the economy continues to grow. What's going to happen? We're going to see some very high oil prices because green, as cool as it is, they don't have what we need today. Fossil fuels has what we need today. Fossil fuels is the cheapest energy in the emerging markets. Those other countries, they're going to go after the cheapest, affordable energy that actually works today. They don't have the money for research and development. They don't have the money for a Tesla. They don't have the money for a bunch of solar power panels and wind turbines. They don't have the money to do that, but they have money for a barrel of oil. They have money for a gas-powered car. They have money for a gas-powered tractor. They have money for diesel. They don't have money for green tech. America is on a pipe dream. America really believes is making you believe the lie. It's a false narrative. So what's driving the markets, what's driving oil prices right now is fear and lies. But once the truth comes out, which after the elections, you're going to start seeing more truth, we're going to see some very dire straits for the energy market. You're going to be paying through the nose for gasoline for a time being, and you're going to see a barrel of oil trading again for triple digit again. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like this channel, please subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.